You clumsy little nobody, Vanessa Sterling hissed, her perfectly manicured hand still raised as if she might strike again. Do you have any idea how much this dress costs? More than you'll make in a year, I'm sure. The red wine stains spread across her silver gown like spilled blood, and yes, it was my fault. I'd been carrying a tray of champagne flutes when she'd stepped backward without looking, directly into my path. The wine had been hers, knocked from her own hand in the collision, but none of that mattered now. I'm so sorry, I managed, my voice thick from the blood pooling in my throat. Please, let you what? Ruin something else? She turned to the small crowd of socialites gathered for the Rosewood Hotel's charity gala, her voice dripping with contempt. This is what happens when they hire street trash to serve their betters. Someone call security. I want her arrested for assault. My heart hammered against my ribs. I needed this job. My mother's medication cost $1,800 a month, and her insurance covered barely half. The Rosewood paid better than anywhere else I'd worked, and I'd been saving every extra penny for 3 months just to make her next treatment. Ma'am, I'm sure we can resolve this, the manager stammered, appearing at Vanessa's elbow with the desperate smile of a man watching his tip vanish. We'll cover the cleaning costs, of course, and I don't want it cleaned. I want her fired. Vanessa's eyes glittered with something cruel and satisfied. And I want her charged. She assaulted me in front of witnesses. I didn't... The words died in my throat as her date stepped forward, a thick-necked man in an expensive suit whose eyes raked over me with open disdain. You heard the lady, he said, reaching out to grab my arm. I jerked back instinctively, and the movement sent a fresh wave of pain through my nose. The room tilted slightly. Through the growing fog of humiliation and fear, I became aware of a sudden change in the atmosphere, like the pressure drop before a storm. The conversations around us had stopped. People were staring, but not at me anymore. They were looking past me, toward the hotel's entrance, and the expressions on their faces ranged from curiosity to something that looked almost like fear. Who, said a voice from behind me, low and cold enough to frost the words in the air, broke your nose? I turned slowly, the napkin still pressed to my face, and found myself looking up at a man who seemed to command the space around him like gravity itself had shifted in his favor. He was tall, broad-shouldered beneath a black suit that probably cost more than my car, with dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble. But it was his eyes that stopped my breath. Pale gray, like winter ice, and fixed on me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. My voice came out as barely a whisper. You have 3 seconds. He didn't raise his voice, but somehow it carried through the entire lobby. His gaze hadn't left my face. Who broke your nose? Vanessa's laugh was sharp and nervous. Excuse me, but this is none of your business. This girl assaulted me, and I'm well within my rights. 2 seconds. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. The man still hadn't looked at Vanessa, hadn't even acknowledged her existence. He was waiting for my answer, and something in his absolute stillness told me he was capable of terrible patience. She pushed me, I said quietly, then louder when his eyes narrowed. Mrs. Sterling pushed me into the desk when I apologized for the wine. It was an accident, Vanessa sputtered, her composure cracking. She's lying. Bradley, tell him. But Bradley had gone pale, taking a step back from Vanessa, as if she'd become radioactive. Around the lobby, I watched recognition dawn on face after face, followed by various shades of alarm. The man finally turned his attention to Vanessa, and she actually flinched. Dominic Marchetti, she breathed, and the way she said the name made it sound like a curse and a prayer combined. The name meant nothing to me, but clearly it meant everything to everyone else in the room. The manager had gone white as snow. 2 security guards who'd been approaching stopped dead in their tracks. Even the piano player in the corner had faltered to silence. Dominic Marchetti looked at Vanessa the way someone might examine an insect they were deciding whether to crush. You put your hands on her. It was hardly... she spilled wine on a $15,000 dress, and I barely touched. You, he said, still in that terrifyingly quiet voice. put your hands on something that belongs to me." The word sent a shock through my system. Belongs to him? I'd never seen this man before in my life. I was certain of it. He wasn't someone you'd forget. "Sir, I think there's been a misunderstanding," I started, but his hand came up in a gesture that was both gentle and absolute. "Not now, Piccola." His eyes never left Vanessa's face. "I'm conducting business." Two men in dark suits had materialized from somewhere behind him, and I realized they'd probably been there all along, just so still and professional that I hadn't noticed them. They looked like they could break a person in half without wrinkling their jackets. "Mr. Marchetti, please, I had no idea." Vanessa was backing away now, her earlier arrogance replaced by something close to panic. "If I'd known she was yours, I would never have—" "That's the problem, isn't it?" He took a step forward, and Vanessa stumbled backward into Bradley, who was also trying to retreat. "You thought she was nobody. Fair game for your little tantrum, because some wine got spilled on your overpriced dress." "It was an accident," Bradley interjected, his voice cracking. "Just a misunderstanding between you." Dominic's gaze swung to him with the precision of a knife. "You were about to put your hands on her as well. I saw you reach." Bradley held up both palms in surrender. "I wasn't going to hurt her, I swear. I was just what?" Dominic's voice could have etched glass. "Following your date's orders to manhandle my employee? My staff? Someone under my protection?" The possessive pronouns kept piling up, each one more confusing than the last. I wanted to interrupt, to explain that I didn't work for him, that I'd never even heard his name until 30 seconds ago, but something told me that speaking right now would be a very bad idea. "Marcus," Dominic said without looking away from Bradley. One of the suited men stepped forward. "Mr. Sterling here seems to be confused about acceptable behavior in my city. Help him understand." "Wait, Sterling?" Dominic's eyes sharpened. "Any relation to Richard Sterling, the real estate developer?" Bradley's face drained of what little color remained. "He's my father." "Interesting." Dominic pulled out his phone, typed something with his thumb. "I believe my family holds the note on 3 of his current development projects: the Riverside Complex, the downtown renovation, and that shopping center out in Westbrook. Due for refinancing next month, if I recall correctly." "Please," Vanessa whispered. "Please, we're sorry. We'll apologize. You'll leave," Dominic said flatly. "And you'll be grateful I'm allowing that much. If I ever hear that you've so much as looked at someone the wrong way again, if your name crosses my desk for any reason whatsoever, I will remember this moment. I will remember that you drew blood from something precious. And I promise you, Mrs. Sterling, my memory is very, very long." He made a small gesture, and the 2 men in suits moved to escort Vanessa and Bradley toward the exit. The crowd parted like water, everyone suddenly finding fascinating reasons to be anywhere else. Then Dominic Marchetti turned back to me, and his expression shifted entirely. The cold fury melted into something warmer, though no less intense. "Let me see," he said, reaching for the napkin I still pressed against my face. I let him take it, too stunned to resist. His hands were surprisingly gentle as they tilted my chin up, examining my nose with a critical eye that suggested he'd seen more than his share of injuries. "It's not broken," he concluded after a moment. "Bleeding's almost stopped, but you'll have bruising." His jaw tightened. "Unacceptable." "I'm sorry," I said automatically. "I don't understand what's happening. Who are you? Why did you say I work for you?" "Because as of this moment, you do." He produced a pristine white handkerchief from his pocket, pressed it carefully against my tender nose. "You're quitting this job, tonight, effective immediately." "I can't just... I need this job. My mother..." "Your mother is Victoria Hayes, currently undergoing treatment for stage 3 lymphoma at Mercy General. Her next appointment is Tuesday, and her insurance covers 40% of costs." He said it matter-of-factly, and my blood ran cold. "How do you know that?" "Because I make it my business to know everything about people who interest me." He studied my face, and something flickered in those winter gray eyes. "And you, Emma Hayes, have interested me for quite some time." My name in his mouth sent a shiver down my spine. "You've been watching me?" "Protecting you," he corrected. "There's a difference." That's not better. That's stalking." The corner of his mouth quirked up, almost a smile. "Technically, it's security detail. You've had 2 men assigned to you for the past 3 months. Very discreet. You never noticed." 3 months. The same amount of time I'd been working at the Rosewood, saving every penny for my mother's medication. A horrible suspicion bloomed in my chest. "The job," I said slowly. Your references were excellent. Your experience spoke for itself. I simply made sure the right person looked at your application." He lifted the handkerchief slightly, checking my nose again. "The rest was your own merit." "But why?" The question came out almost desperate. "I don't know you. I've never done anything to you, never even seen you before tonight. Why would you— Do you remember working at Cafe Bellini last summer?" The change of subject threw me. "The coffee shop? Yes, but I only worked there for a few months before they closed for renovations." "June 17th, he said. "Tuesday afternoon. A man came in angry about something. Started shouting at the owner about protection money, about how the neighborhood was changing and old agreements didn't matter anymore. Started breaking things." The memory surfaced slowly. I'd been working the register, and yes, there had been a man. Angry, aggressive, making threats I hadn't fully understood at the time. "He grabbed Maria," I said, remembering. "The owner, a sweet woman in her 60s, started shaking her, saying she'd be sorry. And you," Dominic said softly, "grabbed a coffee pot and hit him over the head with it. Gave her time to get to the phone. By the time he recovered, the police were on their way. He was hurting her," I said defensively. "Someone had to do something." "Maria Bellini," Dominic continued, "is my mother's oldest friend. The cafe belongs to my family. Has for 30 years. That man was testing new territory, seeing if he could muscle in on our protection arrangements. You stopped him. You protected what was mine." The pieces were falling into place, creating a picture I wasn't sure I wanted to see. "So, this is what? Payment? You've been following me around for months because I hit some guy with a coffee pot?" "I've been making sure you're safe because you put yourself in danger for my family." His voice hardened. "And because when I ran your background, I learned about your mother. About you working 3 jobs to keep her in. Treatment. About you doing everything right, playing by all the rules and still drowning. I'm not your responsibility. You became my responsibility the moment you shed blood for something of mine." He stepped closer, and I had to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. "In my world, Emma, that creates a debt, and I always pay my debts." "I don't want anything from you," I insisted, even as my mind raced with the implications. His world, protection arrangements, the fear on Vanessa's face when she'd recognized him. "I don't know what you are, what you do, but I don't—" "You need $42,000, he interrupted. "That's how much you're short for your mother's treatment plan through the end of the year. Your insurance caps out in 6 weeks, and you've already hit your deductible. The experimental treatment her oncologist wants to try isn't covered at all." The number hit me like a physical blow because it was exactly right. I'd run those calculations 100 times, lying awake at 3 in the morning, trying to figure out how to make impossible math work out. "I know everything, Emma. Your bank balance, your credit score. The fact that you donated plasma twice last week, even though you're anemic. The fact that you haven't bought new shoes in 8 months, because every spare dollar goes to your mother." His hand came up, fingers barely brushing my cheek. "The fact that you're terrified and exhausted, and so brave it hurts to watch." Tears burned behind my eyes, but I blinked them back furiously. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to let me help." He said it simply, like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. "I want you to work for me. Really work for me, not whatever arrangement got you into this hotel. I want you safe, protected. I want to make sure people like Vanessa Sterling never dare to touch you again. In exchange for what? I had to ask. Had to know what kind of deal I was making with this dangerous stranger who somehow felt less like a stranger with every passing moment. In exchange, he said, for the pleasure of your company. Your trust, if you're willing to give it. Your presence in my life. His thumb traced my jawline. I'm not a good man, Emma. I won't pretend to be. But I protect what's mine, and I take care of my people. Let me take care of you. It was insane. Everything about this situation screamed danger, warned me to run. But when I looked into those winter-gray eyes, I didn't see a threat. I saw something fierce and possessive, and strangely honest. My mother's treatment, I heard myself say. All of it? Even the experimental. All of it. And you'll move out of that apartment in the flood zone. I have properties all over the city. Safe. Secure. You'll have a car that actually starts in the morning. You'll never donate plasma again. His voice dropped lower. You'll never be afraid again. You can't promise that. Watch me. The certainty in his voice should have been arrogant, but it wasn't. It was simply fact delivered by a man who'd built his entire existence around keeping promises. I don't even know what you'd want me to do, I said. What kind of work? Whatever you're good at. You have a degree in art history from state. You speak 3 languages. You're overqualified for every job you've worked in the past 2 years. He studied my face. I have a collection that needs cataloging, properties that need management, a dozen legitimate businesses that could use someone with your skills. Pick one. Pick all of them. I don't care, as long as you're where I can see you. This is crazy. Yes, he agreed. But is it any crazier than working yourself to death for minimum wage while people like Vanessa Sterling break your nose for sport? His hand cupped my cheek, thumb brushing away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. Is it crazier than going home to that apartment with the broken lock, walking through that neighborhood where 3 women have been mugged in the past month, knowing you're one emergency away from losing everything? He knew too much, had seen too much. And the horrible thing was, he was right. I don't know you, I whispered. Then get to know me. He smiled, and it transformed his face from severe to something almost beautiful. I'm a patient man, Emma. I can wait for trust. I can wait for comfort. I can even wait for affection, if that's what you need. But I won't wait to keep you safe. That starts now, tonight, whether you agree to anything else or not. Why do I feel like I'm making a deal with the devil? Because you probably are. His honesty was startling. But at least this devil keeps his promises. And right now, I'm promising that if you walk out of here with me, your life changes. Your mother's life changes. You'll never have to be afraid of people like Vanessa Sterling again. You'll never have to choose between medicine and food. You'll never have to work 3 jobs just to survive. And all I have to do is what, exactly? Trust me, he said simply. Let me take care of you. Be mine. The possessiveness in those last 2 words should have frightened me. Instead, they sent a warm shiver through my chest, igniting something I hadn't felt in longer than I could remember. Safety. The promise of safety. Delivered by the most dangerous man I'd ever met. This is insane, I said again, but my conviction was weakening. Probably. He held out his hand. Come with me anyway. I looked at his hand, palm up, waiting. Looked at his face, patient and certain, and oddly gentle for all its hardness. Looked around the lobby at the scattered crowd still pretending not to stare. At the manager wringing his hands. At the bloodstains on the pristine marble floor. What did I have to lose that I hadn't already lost, or wasn't on the verge of losing? I put my hand in his. His fingers closed around mine, warm and strong, and the smile that crossed his face was triumphant and tender in equal measure. Good girl, he murmured. Let's get you out of here. He led me toward the exit, and the crowd parted before us like we were royalty. One of the suited men, Marcus I thought, handed me my coat and purse from the staff room without being asked. The manager stammered something about my final paycheck, and Dominic silenced him with a single look. Send it to my office, he said, with a bonus for her trouble. 50,000 ought to cover the emotional distress of being assaulted on your property. 50! The manager sputtered, but Dominic was already moving, his hand on the small of my back, guiding me through the doors and into the cool night air. A car waited at the curb. Not just a car, a vehicle that probably cost more than most houses, all sleek black lines and tinted windows. Marcus opened the back door, and Dominic handed me in before sliding in beside me. The interior smelled like leather and something expensive and masculine. Dominic pulled out his phone, typed rapidly. "I'm sending a team to your apartment," he said. "They'll pack your things tonight, have you moved by morning. I want you in a secure location by dawn." "You're moving me tonight?" My head was spinning. "I haven't even agreed to... Emma." He set down the phone, turned to face me fully. "In about 20 minutes, Bradley Sterling is going to tell his father what happened tonight. In 40 minutes, his father is going to make some calls, trying to figure out who you are to me and whether this can be smoothed over. By morning, at least a dozen people with various grudges against my family are going to know there's a woman I've publicly claimed protection over." The reality of what he was saying sank in slowly. "You've made me a target." "I've made you a priority," he corrected. "And yes, that comes with complications, which is why you're not going back to that apartment with the broken lock. You're not going anywhere. I can't guarantee your safety." He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. "I told you, Emma. I protect what's mine. That's not a figure of speech. I didn't agree to be yours. You took my hand." His smile was slight but definite. "In my world, that's a binding contract." "That's not how contracts work." "In your world, maybe." He leaned back against the leather seat, but his eyes never left my face. "In mine, promises are different. More concrete. You took my hand. You let me claim you in front of witnesses. You walked out of that hotel under my protection. That means something. It means you're a lunatic who thinks he owns people. I don't want to own you, Emma. I want to keep you." He said it like there was a difference that mattered. "There's a distinction." The car pulled smoothly away from the curb, and I watched the Rosewood Hotel disappear behind us. Somewhere up in that building was my locker, my time card, the life I'd built from minimum wage and desperation, and now was leaving it behind, driving into the night with a man I'd met 20 minutes ago, a man who apparently commanded enough fear to make socialites and security guards alike think twice. "Tell me what you really are," I said. "No euphemisms, no pretty words. What am I getting involved with?" He considered me for a long moment, then seemed to come to a decision. "My family has been in this city for 4 generations. We provide certain services: protection, arbitration, problem-solving of various kinds. We have legitimate businesses, real estate, restaurants, import-export. But our real power comes from our willingness to operate outside traditional channels when necessary. You're the Mafia. We're a family with traditional values and modern business practices." His lips quirked. "But yes, if you want to use that word, it's accurate enough. And you want me to, what, be your girlfriend? Your mistress? I want you to be whatever you choose to be." He reached out, took my hand again. "If you want to work for me and nothing more, that's acceptable. If you want to explore this," he gestured between us, "this connection, I'm more than willing. But I won't force anything, Emma. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not that. You kidnapped me. I'm relocating you to a secure location while we assess potential threats." He said it so reasonably. "There's a difference. You're insane." "Probably." He smiled, and it was warmer this time. "But I'm your kind of insane now, and I take care of what's mine." The possessive language should have bothered me more than it did, but there was something almost comforting about his certainty, his absolute conviction that he could remake my world with a word. After months of drowning, of fighting for every inch, the idea of letting someone else carry the weight was dangerously appealing. "My mother," I said. "If I do this, whatever this is, she's taken care of? All of it?" "All of it," he confirmed. "Best doctors, best treatment, A private room if she needs it. Whatever it takes. His hand tightened on mine. And you stop working yourself to death. You eat regular meals. You sleep in a real bed in a safe place. You stop being afraid. I'm afraid right now, I admitted. Of me? I considered. Of this. Of what it means. Of what I might become if I let you do this. You'll become safe, he said. Protected. Valued. Is that so terrible? When he put it like that, it didn't sound terrible at all. It sounded like a fantasy, like something too good to be real, which meant there had to be a catch, something he wasn't saying. What do you really want from me? I asked again. And don't give me the line about my company and my trust. Men like you don't move heaven and earth for someone they hit with a coffee pot 8 months ago. What's the real reason? He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. The car glided through darkened streets, past buildings I recognized from my daily commute, past the life I was leaving behind. Do you believe in fate, Emma? The question surprised me. I don't know. Maybe. I didn't, he said. I thought everything was strategy, planning, force of will. He looked at me, and something in his expression was almost vulnerable. Then I walked into a coffee shop last June because Maria called me, panicked, and I saw you standing there with a coffee pot in your hand and this fierce, terrified look on your face, and something just clicked. Clicked. Like recognition. Like remembering something I'd forgotten. He shook his head as if amazed at himself. I've known a lot of women, Emma. Beautiful women. Sophisticated women. Women who understood my world and weren't shocked by it. But I looked at you, covered in coffee grounds and shaking like a leaf, and I thought, there, that's mine. That belongs to me. That's insane. Yes, he agreed easily. But that doesn't make it less true. I've spent 8 months making sure you were safe, making sure you had opportunities, watching you work yourself to the bone for your mother, watching you be kind and brave, and so damn good in a world that's been nothing but cruel to you. And every day I watched, I became more certain. Certain of what? That you're mine, he said simply. That you were always supposed to be mine. That every choice I've made, every step that led me to that coffee shop on that particular day, it all led to you. He lifted my hand to his lips, pressed a kiss to my knuckles. So when I saw you tonight, saw blood on your face because someone dared to touch what's mine, I stopped pretending I could be patient. I stopped pretending I could wait. His words sent heat flooding through my chest, even as my rational mind screamed warnings. This was too fast, too intense, too much. But when had my rational mind ever gotten me anywhere, except exhausted and broke? You barely know me, I whispered. I know everything that matters. His eyes met mine, and the intensity there stole my breath. I know you're brave. I know you're loyal. I know you put everyone else first and yourself last. I know you deserve better than the hand life has dealt you. And I know, his voice dropped, intimate and rough, that I will burn down this entire city before I let anyone hurt you again. It should have sounded like a threat. Instead, it sounded like a promise, like a vow spoken in darkness that bound us together more surely than any contract. This is crazy, I said for what felt like the 100th time. Does it matter? He studied my face. Look me in the eye and tell me you want to go back. Back to that apartment. Back to working 3 jobs. Back to being afraid that next month's bills won't get paid. Tell me you want to refuse what I'm offering, and I'll turn this car around right now. I opened my mouth, closed it, tried to imagine walking away from this moment, from this man, from everything he represented. Tried to imagine going back to my life as it was, pretending tonight had never happened. I couldn't do it. I'm not saying yes to everything, I finally said. I'm not agreeing to be your whatever this is. Not yet. Not until I understand what I'm agreeing to. Fair enough. He looked satisfied, rather than disappointed. But you'll let me keep you safe. You'll let me take care of your mother's treatment. You'll let me give you space to breathe, to rest, To figure out what you want without drowning in debt and fear. You make it sound so reasonable. Because it is. He smiled. The rest, the relationship, the belonging, the us, we can take as slow as you need. But your safety isn't negotiable, Emma. Not after tonight. Not after I've claimed you publicly. That ship has sailed. The car slowed, turned into a gated driveway I hadn't noticed before. High walls topped with discreet security cameras. Manicured grounds lit by soft landscape lighting. And at the end of the drive, a house. No, a mansion that glowed like a jewel in the darkness. Where are we? Home, he said simply. You're home now, if you'll accept it. At least until we find something you prefer. The car stopped, and Marcus opened the door. Dominic stepped out, then offered me his hand again. I took it, let him help me from the car, and stood staring up at the house that was apparently mine now. It's too much, I breathed. It's not enough, he countered. But it's a start. He led me up the steps, through doors that opened as we approached. You'll have your own suite, your own space. I won't pressure you for anything you're not ready to give, but you'll be safe here, Emma. Protected. And you'll never have to worry about money or your mother's treatment or someone like Vanessa Sterling ever again. The interior was beautiful. All warm wood and soft lighting, elegant without being ostentatious. A woman in a neat uniform appeared from somewhere, smiling kindly. This is Anna, Dominic said. She manages the household staff. Anything you need, ask her. Anything at all. It's a pleasure, Miss Hayes, Anna said warmly. We're so glad you're here. Would you like me to show you to your rooms? Perhaps draw a bath? You've had quite an evening. The kindness in her voice, the genuine welcome, made something crack in my chest. When was the last time someone had offered to take care of me? When was the last time I'd been anything other than the one doing the caring? Yes, I heard myself say. Please. Dominic caught my hand before I could follow Anna. Emma, thank you for trusting me this far. I haven't decided to trust you, I said, but the words lacked conviction. You're here, he said. That's enough for now. He lifted my hand, pressed another kiss to my knuckles. Sleep. Rest. Recover. Tomorrow we'll talk about the details. But tonight, just let yourself be safe. Anna led me up a sweeping staircase, down a hallway hung with what looked like original artwork, to a suite of rooms that was bigger than my entire apartment. A bedroom with a bed that could sleep 4, a sitting room with a fireplace, a bathroom with a tub deep enough to swim in. I'll have your things brought up as soon as they arrive, Anna said. In the meantime, there are clothes in the wardrobe that should fit, and toiletries in the bathroom. If you need anything at all, just pick up any phone and dial 0. Someone will answer immediately. She left me alone in all that beautiful space, and I stood in the center of the bedroom, trying to process everything that had happened in the past 2 hours. I'd been assaulted, rescued, claimed by a Mafia boss who apparently thought I was his soulmate, offered a life that seemed too good to be real. I should run. I should call someone, the police, my mother, someone, and tell them I'd been kidnapped by a madman. Instead, I walked into the bathroom, turned on the taps in that enormous tub, and started crying. Not from fear, not from pain, though my nose still throbbed, but from relief so profound it felt like grief, like something breaking open inside me that I'd kept locked away for so long. For the first time in 2 years, since my mother's diagnosis, since the insurance letters started arriving, since I'd realized I was going to drown trying to keep both our heads above water, I wasn't afraid. I was terrified, yes, confused, overwhelmed, completely out of my depth. But underneath all of that was something else. Something warm and strange, and tentatively hopeful. Maybe this was insane. Maybe I was making the biggest mistake of my life. Maybe Dominic Marchetti was dangerous and possessive and everything I should run from. But he'd also looked at me like I was precious, like I was worth protecting, like I was his, in a way that made me feel claimed rather than trapped. And after so long being invisible, being nothing, being just another body working just another job, that feeling was more intoxicating than it should have been. I slid into the hot water and let myself float, let myself stop fighting for just a moment. Tomorrow I could worry about what I'd agreed to. Tomorrow I could panic about the implications. Tomorrow I could try to make sense of this strange new world I'd fallen into. Tonight I was just going to let myself be safe. And if that made me weak, if that made me foolish, well, I'd been strong for too long. Maybe it was time to let someone else carry the weight, even if that someone was a dangerous man who thought I belonged to him, even if, especially if, part of me was starting to think he might be right. I woke to sunlight streaming through windows I didn't recognize, in a bed too soft to be mine, wearing silk pajamas I'd found folded on the bathroom counter the night before. For a confused moment, I thought I was dreaming. Then memory crashed back in. The hotel. Vanessa Sterling. The blood on the marble floor. Dominic Marchetti's winter gray eyes promising to burn down the world for me. I sat up slowly, cataloging my body's complaints. My nose was swollen and tender, painting the left side of my face in shades of purple and green. My head ached dully, but I was clean, rested, and for the first time in months, I'd slept through the entire night without waking in panic about bills or medication schedules, or whether my car would start in the morning. A knock at the door made me jump. "Miss Hayes?" Anna's voice, warm and professional. "May I come in?" "Yes," I called, pulling the covers up self-consciously. She entered with a tray, coffee, fruit, pastries that smelled like they'd been baked fresh. She set it on the bedside table with a smile. "Good morning. How did you sleep?" "Better than I have in months," I admitted. "I'm glad." She poured coffee into a delicate cup. "Mr. Marchetti wanted me to let you know he's downstairs when you're ready. He thought you might like to discuss the arrangements before he heads to the office." The arrangements. My new life, whatever that meant. "What time is it?" "Just past 9. There's no rush. Take your time." She indicated a door I hadn't noticed the night before. "Your things arrived early this morning. I've had them unpacked and put away. If there's anything you can't find, or if you'd prefer things organized differently, just let me know." My things. My clothes, my books, my life, all transplanted to this strange new place while I slept. "Thank you," I said, because what else could I say? Anna left me alone with the coffee and my thoughts. I ate slowly, mechanically, trying to gather the courage to face Dominic Marchetti in daylight. Last night he'd been my savior, my rescuer, commanding and certain and impossible to refuse. But this morning, the reality of what I'd agreed to felt more concrete and infinitely more complicated. I showered, dressed in my own clothes, jeans and a simple sweater that felt absurdly casual in this elegant house, braided my hair back from my bruised face, tried to look like someone who had their life together rather than someone who'd been swept off their feet by a dangerous man with pretty promises. Dominic was in what Anna called the morning room, reading something on a tablet while sipping espresso. He looked up when I entered, and his eyes went immediately to the bruising on my face. Something dark flickered across his expression. "How do you feel?" "Confused," I said honestly. "Overwhelmed. A little like I've been kidnapped." "You haven't." He set down the tablet. "You can leave anytime you want. I meant what I said about not forcing anything." "Can I?" I challenged. "Leave, I mean. Walk out that door right now and go back to my life?" "No," he said flatly. "Because your life isn't safe anymore. Because people know you're under my protection, and that makes you a potential target for anyone with a grudge against my family. Because walking out that door would mean rejecting my protection, and I won't, allow that. So I am kidnapped." "You're protected," he corrected. "Whether you like it or not. Whether you stay here or insist on going somewhere else, you'll have security. You'll have people watching your back. Because that's not negotiable, Emma. Not after last night." I wanted to argue, but what was the point? He was right about the safety aspect. and the stubborn set of his jaw told me this was one battle I wouldn't win. "Fine," I said, "but I want to understand exactly what I've agreed to, what you expect from me, what this," I gestured between us, "is." "Fair," he indicated the chair across from him. "Sit. Let's talk." I sat, accepted the coffee he poured for me, and waited. "First, the practical matters," he said. "Your mother's treatment. I've already contacted her oncologist. She's being moved to a private suite at Mercy General today, and Dr. Chen is reviewing her file. He's the best oncologist in the state. He'll coordinate with her current team and recommend treatment options without insurance limitations." My throat tightened. I can't." "You're not paying for it," he said firmly. "This isn't a loan, Emma. It's a gift. You saved something of mine. I'm taking care of something of yours. That's how this works. Nothing is free. Everything has a price. Then consider the price already paid." He held my gaze. "You put yourself in danger for my family. That debt is more than settled by ensuring your mother survives. I'm not keeping a ledger here." I wanted to argue, but what was I going to do? Refuse medical treatment for my mother out of pride? That would be insane. "Okay," I said quietly. "Thank you. Second, your employment. I meant what I said about having work for you if you want it. I have a private collection, art, antiquities, various items I've acquired over the years, that needs proper cataloging. I have several restaurants that could use management consultation. I have legitimate businesses that need attention. Pick what interests you or pick nothing and just focus on recovering for a while. Either way, you'll be compensated." "How much?" "Enough that you never worry about money again. Enough that if you decide tomorrow you want nothing to do with me, you have the resources to build whatever life you want." He said it like it was nothing, like the kind of financial security I'd been killing myself to achieve was something he could grant with a word. That's too much." "It's what you're worth." He said it with such certainty that I almost believed him. "And it's insurance. I want you to know that you can walk away anytime, that you're here because you choose to be, not because you're trapped. Except I can't walk away because it's not safe." "Except you can't walk away safely," he corrected. "There's a difference. I'm not holding you prisoner, Emma. I'm giving you options. You can live here. You can choose another property. I have apartments, townhouses, a beach house up the coast. You can work for me or not. You can share meals with me or take them in your room. The only non-negotiable is that you'll have security." It was more freedom than I'd expected, but also more complicated. Because the real question, the one I was afraid to ask, hung in the air between us. "And us?" I finally said. "What do you expect from me there?" His expression softened. "Whatever you're willing to give. If you want to keep this professional, employer and employee, protector and protected, I can respect that. If you want to explore whether this connection between us is real, I'm more than willing. But I won't push, Emma. I won't demand. I've already claimed you publicly, so the world thinks you're mine. What happens privately is up to you. You said I belong to you." "You do," he said simply. "But belonging doesn't mean ownership. It means I'm responsible for you. I care what happens to you. I would move heaven and earth to keep you safe, but it doesn't mean I get to dictate your choices or demand things you're not ready to give. That's not what belonging usually means. Maybe not in your world." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his full attention focused on me. "In mine, belonging is sacred. It means your family, protected, valued. It means your well-being matters as much as my own. It means I would die before I let someone hurt you again." He paused. "It doesn't mean I own you, Emma. It means I'm yours as much as you're mine." The words did something strange to my heart, made it flutter and ache in equal measure. "You don't know me well enough to say that. I know enough." He held my gaze. "I know you're brave and loyal and too good for this world. I know you feel things deeply and hide how much you're hurting. I know you deserve better than you've gotten. And I know," his voice dropped, intimate and rough, "that I want to be the one who gives you better." "This is crazy," I whispered. "So you keep saying." He smiled slightly. But you're still here. Because he was right. I was still here. Not because I had to be, but because some part of me wanted to be. Some part of me that had been starving for exactly this. To be seen, to be valued, to be claimed by someone who looked at me like I was precious. I need time, I said finally. Time to think. Time to figure out what I want without... I gestured helplessly. Without you looking at me like that. Like what? Like I'm already yours. Because you are, he said. But I understand. Take all the time you need. I'm a patient man, Emma. I can wait. He stood, finished his coffee. I have meetings most of the day, but I'll be home for dinner. Anna can show you around the house, the grounds. There's a library you might like, a garden. Make yourself comfortable. This is your home now. He moved toward the door, then paused. Emma, one more thing. Yes? By tonight, everyone who matters in this city will know what happened at the Rosewood. They'll know. I've claimed protection over you. They'll be trying to figure out who you are to me, what kind of leverage you represent. His eyes were serious. Some of them might try to test that protection, to see if I'm serious. So I need you to promise me something. What? Don't go anywhere without security. Don't trust anyone who approaches you, no matter how harmless they seem. Don't be alone. I know it seems extreme, but until people understand that you're off limits, there's a very real danger. Fear prickled down my spine. You're saying someone might try to hurt me? I'm saying someone might try to use you to get to me, and I won't give them that chance. He crossed back to me, lifted my chin gently. I meant what I said last night. I will burn this city down before I let anyone hurt you. But I need you to work with me. To be smart. To let me protect you. I'll be careful, I promised. Good. He pressed a kiss to my forehead, gentle and possessive. I'll see you tonight. He left me alone with my coffee and my swirling thoughts, and I sat in that beautiful morning room trying to make sense of my new reality. 24 hours ago, I'd been a waitress barely making rent. Now I was living in a mansion, my mother was getting the best medical care money could buy, and I was apparently under the protection of a Mafia boss who thought I belonged to him. It was insane. But as I finished my coffee and looked around at the life he was offering me, safety, security, freedom from the fear that had haunted me for 2 years, I couldn't help thinking that maybe insane wasn't such a bad thing. Maybe insane was exactly what I needed. The days that followed were surreal. Anna showed me the house, 8 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, a library that made my art history degree weep with joy, a kitchen bigger than my old apartment. The grounds included a pool, a garden, something she called the guest house, that was bigger than most people's homes. Security was everywhere, but discreet. I'd catch glimpses of men in dark suits at the perimeter, cameras hidden in the landscaping, technology I didn't understand monitoring everything. It should have felt like a prison. Instead, it felt like the first time I'd been able to breathe in years. My mother was moved to Mercy General that first day. When I called her, worried about how she'd react to suddenly being in a private suite with round-the-clock nursing care, she just laughed. Emma, sweetheart, I have 6 books I've been wanting to read and a view of the garden. I'm not asking questions. If you've found a sugar daddy with excellent insurance, I'm not going to complain. Mom, what? I raised you to be practical. Her voice softened. Baby, I'm just glad you're not killing yourself trying to take care of me anymore. Let someone take care of you for once. If she only knew. Dominic kept his promise about not pushing. He was gone most days, attending to what Anna vaguely called business matters. But he was home for dinner every night, and those meals became the strange center of my new life. We'd sit across from each other in the elegant dining room, and he'd ask about my day like we were a normal couple. What I'd read in the library, what I thought of the art collection, whether I'd decided what kind of work I wanted to do. And slowly, meal by meal, I started to know him. He was brilliant, sharp and quick and terrifyingly well-read. He spoke 4 languages fluently. He remembered everything I said, from my offhand comment about preferring tea to coffee in the afternoon, to my admission that I'd always wanted to visit Florence. He was also dangerous. I'd catch glimpses of it sometimes. The cold look he'd get when someone called with bad news, the way even Anna would tense slightly when his mood darkened, the barely concealed violence in his eyes when the subject turned to people who'd crossed him. But with me, he was patient, gentle. He never touched me beyond the occasional hand on my back or brush of fingers. Never pushed for more than I was willing to give. It was driving me crazy. Because the truth was, I was starting to want him to push. Starting to wonder what it would feel like to give in to the connection I felt growing between us. Starting to think that maybe belonging to Dominic Marchetti wouldn't be such a terrible fate. On the fourth night, over dinner, he looked at me and said, "You're thinking too hard again." "I'm trying to understand this," I admitted. "Us, what we're doing here. We're having dinner. You know what I mean." He set down his fork, gave me his full attention. "What do you want to know?" "Everything," I said. "Who you really are. What you really do. Why you're—" I gestured helplessly. "Why you're like this with me." "Like what?" "Patient. Gentle. You terrified Vanessa Sterling just by looking at her. You made grown men go pale at the mention of your name. But with me, you're different," he finished. "Because you're different, Emma. Because you're mine, in a way that has nothing to do with fear or power or business. Because with you, I get to be just—" He paused, searching for words. "Just a man who wants to make you smile." My heart did that strange flutter again. "You're trying to make me fall in love with you." "Yes," he said simply. "Is it working?" The honesty of it stole my breath. No games, no pretense. Just straightforward admission that he wanted me in every way a man could want a woman. "I don't know yet," I whispered. "That's okay." He smiled. "I have time." "You're so certain." "I am," he agreed. "Because I know what I want, Emma. I've known since that coffee shop. I want you safe. I want you happy. I want you to look at me the way you're looking at me right now, like you can't decide if I'm wonderful or insane. Maybe both. I'll take both." He stood, came around the table, held out his hand. "Walk with me?" I took his hand, was starting to make a habit of it, and let him lead me outside into the garden. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. The air smelled like jasmine and fresh-cut grass. We walked in silence for a while, his hand warm around mine, and I felt the last of my resistance starting to crumble. "I'm scared," I finally said. "Of me? Of this. Of wanting this. Of what it means if I let myself believe that this is real." He stopped walking, turned to face me. "It's real, Emma. I'm real. This," he gestured between us. "What I feel when I look at you, what I've felt since that first moment. It's the realest thing in my life. You barely know me. Then let me know you better." He lifted his free hand, traced my jawline. "Let me earn your trust, your affection, your love, if you'll give it. I'm not asking for everything tonight. Just for the chance to prove that this is worth believing in. And if I can't, if I'm too damaged or too scared or too—" "Then I'll wait," he interrupted. "I'll wait as long as it takes. I'll be patient and gentle, and whatever else you need until you feel safe enough to let me in. Because you're worth waiting for, Emma. You're worth everything." His thumb brushed across my lower lip, and I felt the touch everywhere. "I want to believe you," I whispered. "Then believe me." He leaned in slowly, giving me time to pull away. "Let me show you." His lips brushed mine, soft and questioning. Not demanding, not taking, just asking. And something inside me, something that had been locked away and frozen for so long, cracked open. I kissed him back. He made a sound low in his throat, his hand sliding into my hair, cradling my head like I was something precious. The kiss deepened, grew hungry, and I felt myself melting into him, into the promise of safety and desire and belonging that he represented. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. "Okay?" he murmured. Okay, I breathed. Just okay? I was hoping for at least good or maybe life-changing. I laughed, surprised by the humor in his voice. Fishing for compliments? Shamelessly. He pressed another kiss to my temple. I've been waiting 4 days to do that. I want to know if it was worth the wait. It was worth the wait, I admitted. But don't let it go to your head. Too late. My head is enormous now. I might need a bigger doorway. This man, dangerous, deadly Dominic Marchetti, was making jokes to put me at ease. It was so unexpectedly sweet that I felt my heart crack open a little wider. I'm still scared, I said. I know. He kissed my nose, careful of the bruising. But maybe you can be scared while we figure this out together instead of scared while you keep me at arm's length. At least this way, you get kissing. That's your pitch? Let me in. There's kissing? Is it working? I looked up at him, at his winter-gray eyes that could turn glacial with fury, or warm with humor, depending on who he was looking at the face that could be coldly beautiful, or surprisingly gentle, at this man who'd somehow decided I was worth protecting, worth wanting, worth everything. Yeah, I said softly. It's working. His smile was triumphant and tender. Good, because I have about 1,000 more pitches prepared, and I was hoping I wouldn't have to use them all. 1,000? I'm very thorough. He tucked me against his side, started walking again. Also, I bought out the florist downtown. There's a delivery coming tomorrow with every type of flower they had. I wasn't sure what you liked, so I got everything. Dominic. And I may have commissioned a painting of you, from memory, because I couldn't exactly ask you to sit. The artist says it'll be done in 6 weeks. You barely know what I look like. You've known me less than a week. I could paint you from memory tomorrow and get every detail right, he said. I've been watching you for 8 months, Emma. I know the exact shade of your eyes. I know how you bite your lip when you're nervous. I know the way you laugh when you're really amused versus when you're just being polite. I know everything that matters. It should have been creepy. The watching, the obsession, the casual admission that he'd been studying me like homework. Instead, it felt like being seen. Really, truly seen, maybe for the first time in my life. You're insane, I said, but there was no conviction in it anymore. Yes, he agreed easily, but I'm your kind of insane, and you're starting to like it. He was right. God help me, he was absolutely right. We walked through the garden as the sun finished setting, his arm around my shoulders, my head against his chest, and I let myself believe, just for this moment, that fairy tales could be real, that dangerous men could love gently, that belonging to someone didn't mean losing yourself, that maybe, just maybe, I'd found where I was meant to be. In the morning, 10 men would be missing from the city, the ones who'd been at the Rosewood that night, who'd witnessed Vanessa Sterling break my nose, who'd done nothing to help. I wouldn't learn about it until later, wouldn't understand until much later that Dominic had spent the past 4 days systematically removing every person who'd watched me bleed without intervening. But in that moment, walking through the garden with this dangerous, devoted man, I didn't need to know the lengths he'd go to for me. I just needed to know that I was safe, that I was seen, that I was his. And slowly, terrifyingly, wonderfully, I was starting to think that was enough.